Following the huge response that I had to my wave shuttle tutorial the other day, my zigzag tutorial, a lot of you asked the question, what happens when you wash it? You said that you had heard before that with the wave shuttles that once you've completed the weaving and you take it off and you wet finish it, then the pattern actually comes out. So I hadn't actually taken mine off the loom at that point, but I was very interested to see myself as well. And I wish I could tell you that it was good news, but unfortunately it's not. So here is my before picture. This is when the piece had just come off the loom. So you can see the waves and the zigzag pattern there. To wet finish, I just put it in some warm soapy water. I pressed it in very gently. I didn't agitate or anything like that. And it's also a superwash wool. And I left it for an hour or so, came back, gently rinsed, pressed out the weaving in between a clean towel, and then laid it flat on a towel to dry. Already at this point, I could see that the pattern had been greatly affected. And I hoped that somehow, as the yarn dried, because wool has that great shrink back ability, I hoped that somehow more of the pattern would shrink back in, but unfortunately it didn't. So what I was left with was, okay, so for my wave shuttle piece, which was the pink and green, I've got some wavy lines left there. A lot of my patterning has just kind of fallen out of there with just some really subtle waves left. The zigzag, that one was really disappointing because I've got just some really gentle waves left there, whereas when I took it off the loom, I had some very pointy zigzags looking really lovely. So I guess the moral of this story is that yes, you can still use these wave and zigzag shuttles to get these really cool effects, but unfortunately you can't wet finish the piece. So this is going to be most suited to a wall hanging or something where some less functional piece where you're not actually going to need to wash it at any point. So this was an interesting learning curve for me too. A little bit unexpected, but it's always good to know these things and experiment. And as I often say to my students, the best thing you can do before you commit to a whole piece of weaving anything, especially if it's a large piece, if it's special yarn, if it's cost you quite a bit of money, is to just put in that extra small investment of time and money and effort to weave a sample of whatever you're going to do. You can make a really small sample. I thread up whatever loom I'm going to use with whatever pattern I want to do and the yarns that I want to use, but I do it on a very small scale. Then I go through the whole process of wet finishing and everything. And you know, a lot of the time things turn out really well, just as I'd hoped that they would. There have been a few times where I've gotten really unexpected results, and I've been really grateful that I took the time to do that sampling in the first place, because of course it's much more disappointing if you don't get the results that you expected and you have them on a big scale. All right, weavers, thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy weaving.